Hi, my name is Waldegrave, Head of Research at Teekay, and this is our conventional tanker market update for October 2014. Now, the freight market in September was relatively weak, and we really expected that because it's usually the time in the year when refineries do their maintenance ahead of the peak winter demand period, and so this year was no exception. And as I said, we expected the rates to come down, and they did. Aframax averaged about $13,000 a day in September, Suezmax around $14,000, and the Vs were about $15,000 per day. And typically we'd expect that weakness to extend into October as refineries continue their maintenance programs before picking up in November and especially December. December is usually when we see the really strong winter market start to emerge. However, it's encouraging to see this year that the markets have started to pick up a bit sooner than that. In fact, this week the Suezmax rates, especially in the Mediterranean and Black Sea, have popped back up to around $25,000 to $30,000 per day again. So that's a real positive sign ahead of the winter market. And it's pretty typical of what we've seen all year in that when the markets have come back up again, it tends to be the Suezmax that has led the way. And I think that's because the Suezmax trades are shifting. We're seeing more Suezmaxes trading east of Suez. We hear at the moment that there's quite strong Suezmax demand in the Middle East, loading out of Basra. And that means that there's subsequently less Suezmaxes in the Atlantic when the cargoes start to come up in West Africa and in the Med and the Black Sea. So as I say, that's quite a positive sign for the coming weeks, and hopefully it's the start of a decent winter market for crude tankers. The other big trend we've seen in the tanker market, or in the crude oil market in general, in the last few weeks has been falling oil prices. In fact, Brent crude is currently at a 2-year low of about $92 per barrel. And in the short term, we think that that might have a positive impact on the tanker market, because what it's doing is those low oil prices are improving the margins for refineries in different parts of the world, and also might encourage some stockpiling while the prices are cheap. Especially if we think of China, where they're still completing the second phase of their strategic petroleum reserve, and also India, which will start filling its own SPR towards the end of this year and into the beginning of 2015. However, if the oil prices keep coming down, then we could well see OPEC take some corrective action by reducing oil production in order to defend those higher prices. So if and when OPEC does decide to cut, and in particular if Saudi Arabia takes the decision to take a big chunk of oil off the market to try and defend oil prices, then that could have a negative impact. And that may happen from next month onwards. OPEC is due to meet in November. So we'll start to see in November, December whether those volumes are coming off and what kind of impact it might have on the tanker market. But for now, certainly it looks like it's a positive start to the winter. And we think that even if OPEC trims the production a little bit, with the fleet not growing, and if you throw in some of those short-term factors, some weather delays perhaps, then we should get a pretty decent winter market. On the ship supply side, there's still hardly any growth in the crude tanker fleet. In fact, since the start of the year, the VLCC fleet has grown by about 7 vessels, but the Suezmax fleet has shrunk by 2 vessels, and the uncoated Aframax fleet has shrunk by 13 vessels. So on a net basis, in terms of deadweight, there's really been no growth in the crude tanker fleet, and that's probably going to continue all the way through 2015 as well. And then in 2016, we'll probably only see some growth on the Vs, still very little growth on the Suez and the Aframax. So in all, I think we're set up for a decent winter. 2015 looks promising, but it might just be softened a little bit if OPEC starts to cut production in response to falling oil prices. So that's our tanker market update for October, and we'll speak to you again next month.